Comrades, welcome to my channel. This is tracker_gh.opk. Yeah, I'm your favorite truck driver, bus driver. And with me, you learn a lot of things, a lot of interesting but educational stuff. And today, one of the interesting but educational topics we would want to touch on is no other than the topic of features that you need to take notice as a bus driver or as a truck driver on your vehicle whenever you enter into the bus or whenever you enter into the truck. So I keep getting questions like, what are the most important features to take note of whenever you're driving a bus or you're driving a truck? And these are very simple. I quantify them into four main features. We'll start off with comparing the smaller vehicles to a bigger truck or a bigger bus. So with the smaller vehicles, you have a weight of maximum 2.8 tons for the smaller vehicles. Maybe you can have a transporter, Mercedes-Benz Sprinter or something a little bit bigger, which might be about 3.7, at most 3.7, so between 3.5 to 3.7. But in all, we are looking at somewhere between 2.8 tons to 3.5 or 3.7 tons. That is much more smaller. And so with that, you don't really have to look so much into. What you have to take notice with the smaller vehicles is the display board. By display, I mean the manometers, where you have your crankshaft gauge, engine runner, where you have your speedometer, you have your fuel gauge temperatures, you have your, you know what I mean by manometers now. Then you have to take care of your two side mirrors, which are very important with your smaller vehicle, and then your rear view mirror, which is directly above you. For smaller vehicles, these are the things you need to take care of, or these are the features you need to look out for when you're driving smaller vehicles with a weight of about 2.8 to about 3.5 or 3.7 tons. Now, anything above 3.7 tons, which then we're talking about something bigger. So you have a vehicle which has about 3.8, between 3.5 to 3.8 in terms of height. You have a length of about 11 meters to about 18 meters, even 22, given the extension of the trailers. Then you must take notice of these four features I'm going to give you. In fact, they are very important, very useful for beginners, very useful for professionals as well. That is why you need to follow my channel. Then you need to pay attention to some of these lessons I give. So, with not much ado, I would like to quickly touch on them and keep the video as short as possible. The first thing you have to look out for is your display board, which I've already touched on with the smaller vehicles. So with the display board, you have about four features you really need to look out for. One, your speedometer gauge. Two, your engine runner or your crankshaft gauge, which we call the RPM, revolutions per minute. You need to look out for that. The third, you need to look out for your fuel gauge. Fourth, you need to look out for your temperature gauge. These are the four main features on the display board you have to look out for. Yes, and in most of these vehicles, you have what we call the AdBlue system. The AdBlue system is a system that supports the fuel gauge system, especially with the diesel cars and trucks. Yeah, so we'll come to that. We'll talk extensively about the AdBlue system in one of our lectures, which is already on the way. I've already spoken about that. I'll just post it very soon and we can make reference to that so you understand what I'm talking about in regards to AdBlue. Yeah, but most importantly, the second thing that I want you to look for is, again, come back to the display board, the engine runner or the crankshaft gauge. I mean to say the RPM, the revolutions per minute. That is a very, very important and crucial feature. As a bus or truck driver, you always have to keep your eyes on. Don't ask me why. I would explain that vividly in a different video. Then you understand why it is so important for you to keep your eyes on the crankshaft gauge or the revolutions per minute gauge. It helps you be able to downshift. It helps you to be able to upshift your gears. It tells you whether the engine is suffering and needs more torque. It tells you if the engine torque is too high and then you have to reduce it a bit. It actually tells you everything about the engine. Like I always say, the vehicle is just like you, the human being. You have to understand the vehicle, understand the equipment you have in your hands that you're controlling, and then by that you wouldn't have problems with the vehicle. Everything will run smoothly and you'll be the best driver you can ever be. The third thing I want to look out for are the two side mirrors you have. And with buses and trucks, you have an additional smaller mirror, which is directly under the two main mirrors. So you have the two big side mirrors, you have smaller units directly under them. Those two smaller units looks directly to the basement of the vehicle, where you can see a bit more around you. So the bigger ones looks from the middle of the vehicle all the way to the end of the vehicle. In one of my subsequent videos, I'll show you how to adjust your side mirrors so you can have all angles properly showing. So with reverse and with your blind spots, you wouldn't have problems, especially when you're reversing, when you have to take a right turn or what have you not. Yes. With the side mirrors, there's also one that is directly in front of the windscreen. I quantify that also as a side mirror. That shows you whatever is directly in front of the vehicle, because you're sitting high there and you can't see what is directly in front. So that mirror there shows you how and what is happening around you, in front of you, that you can't see. These are three main mirrors that are very, very important. The sides, the two sides with the smaller units, and then the one in front of you. We'll touch on how to adjust these mirrors in one of our subsequent lessons. The last thing I would want you to look out for as a bus or a truck driver is what we call the overhang. By overhang, I mean to say the extension of the body of the vehicle from the rear axle, and not the helping axle, I mean the rear main axle, to the end of the body. So with buses where you have your rear axle or your tire, your back tire, you have an extension of the body of the bus, mostly about 5 meters from the rear axle to the body of the bus, where you can locate the tail lights. It's likewise with trucks. That you have to be very careful about, and you have to take particular note about it, especially when you're turning around. It swings out. When you're reversing, it swings in. So these are 4 major features as a bus driver, as a truck driver, you need to take care of. If not, every single time it's either you're going to scratch something, you're going to destroy properties, you're going to destroy your vehicle. Every time you're going to have problems, accidents with pedestrians. Every time your engine would give you problems, you might even end up damaging the engine because you're not paying attention to the engine. Every time you're going to have an overheating, or your oil level is going to be low, you're not even going to be able to tell these things. So these are things you have to take notice of as a bus driver, or as a truck driver, or as a heavy duty driver. Mind you, the size matters, the length also matters, and it's relatively completely different from the smaller vehicles we use on a daily basis. So these are my tips for what you have to constantly look out for when you're driving a heavy duty vehicle. Follow me for more tips like this on how to drive buses, how to drive trucks. And if you find my content interesting, kindly subscribe to my channel. It's trucker_gh.opk, and like my videos. Catch you later. From me is stay safe and keep your eyes on the road.